There are spirits that warn of death. And then there is the Dullahan. This headless rider doesn't warn. It collects. In the mist-shrouded countryside of Ireland there rides a figure from nightmare itself, carrying its own severed head, driving a coach made of human remains. Speaking your name is a death sentence. Tonight we encounter the Dullahan, Ireland's most terrifying death omen. To understand the Dullahan we must journey back to ancient Ireland, to a time when the boundary between the living and the dead grew thin. In Celtic mythology, death was never simple. It was a transition, a crossing. The Dullahan belongs to a category of Irish spirits known as fetch creatures, supernatural beings that appear as omens of impending death. But unlike the mournful banshee who wails her warnings, the Dullahan serves a different purpose. It is not a warner. It is a collector, a psychopomp, a guide for souls crossing from life to death. The name itself tells the story. Dullahan derives from the Irish Gan seen meaning without a head or Dullach en meaning dark man. But this creature's origins run deeper than its name suggests. Many scholars believe the Dullahan evolved from Crom, Dubh, the dark crooked one, an ancient Celtic deity who demanded human sacrifice. In pre-Christian Ireland, worshippers of Crom Dubh would perform ritual beheadings as offerings. The severed heads were believed to hold great power. When Christianity spread across Ireland, the old gods didn't simply vanish. They transformed. Demoted from deities to fairy folk and dark spirits. Crom Dubh became the Dullahan, still demanding blood, still collecting heads, but now as a rider in the night. The Dullahan rides most often during the autumn festival of Samhain, October 31st, when the veil between worlds grows thinnest. But it can appear at any time, whenever death is near. Descriptions of the Dullahan vary across Ireland, but certain details remain constant. The creature is headless, always headless. It carries its own head tucked under one arm, or sometimes holds it aloft like a grotesque lantern. The head itself is described as having the colour and texture of mouldy cheese, pale, decaying, with skin that stretches too tight over the skull. But the eyes are what witnesses remember. Small, black, constantly darting, seeing everything, seeing through everything. The mouth is described as a rictus grin, stretching from ear to ear, a smile of death itself. The Dullahan wears a cloak. Some say it's made of human skin. Others claim it's simply black as midnight itself. In one hand it carries a human spine, using it as a whip to drive its horses forward. Sometimes the Dullahan rides alone on a black horse, but more terrifying are the times it drives the Cóiste Bodhar, the death coach. This coach is made from materials that defy life itself. Thigh bones form its frame. Dried human skin stretches across its covering. The wheels are said to be made from spines and skulls. The horses that pull it are headless themselves. 6 of them, black as coal, with eyes of flickering flame in their chests. The coach moves impossibly fast. Gates fly open before it without being touched. It can traverse any terrain, through bogs, over mountains, across water. When it stops, someone dies. The old stories tell us how the Dullahan operates, but modern Ireland still whispers of encounters. In County Sligo, in the autumn of 1979, a farmer named Seamus was returning home late from the market. The road was empty, dark. He knew every turn, every stone. Then he heard it. Hooves, coming fast, too fast. He stepped aside, expecting a late rider to pass. But what came around the bend made his blood freeze. A rider on a black horse, with no head on its shoulders. The head was tucked under the rider's arm, and as the creature passed, the head turned to look at him. The eyes glowed green in the darkness. The mouth moved, speaking a single word. His mother's name. The rider passed. Seamus ran home. His mother died in her sleep that night. Irish tradition tells us there is one defense against the Dullahan. One object it fears. Gold. Not silver. Not iron, which wards off most fairy folk. But gold. The story goes that during a funeral procession in County Galway, the death coach appeared on the road ahead. The mourners panicked. They knew what it meant. The Dullahan had come for another soul. But one old woman remembered the old ways. She pulled a gold wedding band from her finger and threw it at the coach. The Dullahan let out a terrible shriek. The coach wheels locked, and the entire procession vanished into mist. No one died that day. But not all encounters end in escape. In County Cork, a young man heard the coach outside his window one night. Despite warnings from his grandmother, he went to the window, pulled back the curtain, and looked outside. The Dullahan stood in his yard, holding its head high. The mouth opened. It spoke his name. Irish folklore warns if the Dullahan speaks your name, you will die immediately. If you see it and it speaks another's name, that person is marked for death. The young man collapsed. No mark on him. No explanation. Just death. So what does the Dullahan represent? Why does this particular image haunt Irish folklore? At its core, the Dullahan embodies several profound human fears. Unlike the banshee who provides warning, the Dullahan offers no chance for preparation. No time for goodbyes. No opportunity for lost rights. This reflects a deep cultural anxiety about dying unshriven. In Catholic Ireland, dying without confession meant potential damnation. The Dullahan's appearance represented the worst possible death. Sudden, unexpected, with no chance for spiritual preparation. The detail that the Dullahan speaks your name before death carries immense cultural weight. In Celtic tradition, knowing someone's true name gave you power over them. To have your name spoken by death itself meant your identity was claimed. Your soul was marked. Your fate was sealed. This reflects an ancient belief that words have power. That naming something makes it real. The Dullahan's missing head is perhaps its most significant feature. In Celtic culture, the head was the seat of the soul. Warriors took the heads of enemies as trophies. Severed heads were believed to have prophetic powers. A headless being represented something fundamentally wrong. Something that existed in opposition to natural order. The Dullahan carrying its own head suggested it had power over death itself. It could separate soul from body. It could exist in that liminal space between life and death. Today, folklorists see the Dullahan as more than just a frightening story. It represents the Irish cultural relationship with death. Not feared and hidden away, but acknowledged. Given form, given rules. The gold coin defense is particularly interesting. Gold, incorruptible and eternal, represented something death could not touch. It was a symbol of value that transcended mortality. The Dullahan reminds us that in Irish tradition death is not the end. It is a transition, a crossing. And sometimes that crossing requires a guide. Even if that guide is headless. The Dullahan still rides through Irish folklore. Still appears in stories told on dark autumn nights. Whether you believe in its literal existence or see it as cultural metaphor, the Dullahan serves an important purpose. It reminds us that death is inevitable, that it comes for everyone, that it cannot be bargained with. But it also reminds us that there are rules, protections, ways to ward off death when it comes too soon. So the next time you walk an Irish country road at night and you hear the distant thunder of hooves, you might want to keep a gold coin in your pocket, just in case. What other dark spirits should we explore? Leave your suggestions in the comments. If you enjoyed this journey into Irish folklore, you might also like our episodes on the Banshee or Balboa Yaga. Click the cards above. And remember, the old stories exist for a reason. Until next time, stay curious about the dark.